This is a song that was written in an unusual way for my partner and I, because normally one or the other of us will get an idea for a song and get into it, maybe almost write the whole song, and then bring it to the other guy and we'll polish it off together. Sometimes it's almost nearly finished, sometimes it's half finished, sometimes it's just a verse and a chorus, whatever. But this time, he had a lyric, a poem written. Didn't have any ideas for the melody at all. And I had been working on a song that had a finished melody, but I couldn't make the lyric work. I couldn't make it work. And we got together to write one day at his cabin in the mountains. And I said, well, what do you got? You know, what are you working on? He said, well, I got this. And he started to read me this poem. And I just started hearing it in my melody. And the further he got, the more, it just, every syllable dropped right into the melody. So we literally brought two completely different songs that just became one song. And this song, you talked about inspiration. The title of this song is called Feels Like It's Fixin' to Rain, and it came from just a tossed off remark that his wife made in the backyard one day. They were breaking leaves or something like that. She's a good Southern girl, and she said, feels like it's fixing to rain. And that's what Louis was saying about being ready for it. He was ready for it. He heard that, and we ended up with this. The sky falls to gray, and the wind starts to blow. There are clouds in your eyes where the sun used to show. There's a chill in the air that no words can explain, and it feels like it's fixing to rain. Like sunshine in summer, I thought you would stay, but a wandering wind came to blow you away. As you leave me, I stare through the cold window pane, and it feels like it's fixing to rain. If love has gone cold, then I can't make it warm. I might as well try to hold back the storm. I close the curtains to keep out the gloom, and those flowers we planted, I guess they'll never bloom. And I don't have to look at that old weather vane to know it's fixing to rain. And I search for the sun, but I'm searching in vain, and it feels like it's fixing to rain. Oh, it feels like it's fixing to rain.
If you just go back to the bridge, sorry about this, but just go back to the bridge. There's just a lovely moment in there which just goes to show the difference between just writing it and a little bit of craft. Back to beat 2, just before you come back into the, you play the bridge through.
The bridge?
Yeah, yeah.
Blood has gone cold, and I can't make it warm. I might as well try to hold back the storm.
There you go. Now normally you'd go hold back the storm,
that's
and that's just great because I waited for that and bam, there it was, with a hold back the storm.
We did that deliberately, of course,
Okay.
because of the words "hold back."
Back, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't an accident. Thought about it.
Why did you write the song?
Why did I write the song? My mother passed away, and it was my job with my brothers and sister to go to her home and go through the things and do what you do with all the possessions. My mother was very proud of the fact that I was writing songs, and living vicariously, she started to write country songs. My mother knew nothing about country music, and she wrote these songs, and she would send me these lyrics and stuff like that, and they were heartbreakingly hysterical. I mean, it was just terrible, but it was so much my mother that I loved them. I mean, her songs were about, we're gonna whip up some red-eye gravy and grits, and her songs were all about country food, which she didn't even make. She thought country songs were all about biscuits. Anyway, I found in this little exercise, I found a book of her handwritten song lyrics. And I'm reading them one by one and laughing and crying because they were all equally awful and, funny. I finally came to a page where there was no lyric, there was just one line in the center of the page, and it said, "Why are my dreams so convincingly real?" And I just went, oh, there's a song there. And I literally went and grabbed my guitar and wrote that melody, whole, just as it came out.
Just the melody?
The melody.
So
I
it's,
had
"Why
a few
are my
words.
dreams so
Why are
consistently
my
real?"
dreams so convincingly real?
Yeah.
When you feel so close that I swear I can feel the touch of your hand as it brushes my skin, but I'm only dreaming again. And I couldn't get any further than that. Absolutely not another word. For months I couldn't get it. But when I showed up with Doug and he started reading his lyric, there it was.
Give us an example of what you think is a good song.
Pick one from the Beatles catalog. I mean, they're all good. I learned to be a musician, not a songwriter. I mean, in retrospect, a songwriter, but I learned to be a musician by sitting and listening to Beatle records and trying to copy what I heard on the guitar. That's how I learned to play the guitar. And so pick one. I mean, they're all fabulous. This Boy is one of my favorite songs in the whole world, and it's a minute and 58-second
But hey,
masterpiece.
This Boy is every song ever written, isn't it?
There's a song in Greece called C, A minor, F, G7. It's not in the movie, but it's in the stage play. It's called C, A minor, F, G7 because there were so many songs in the 50s with those chords. Well, the Beatles, anyway, they used those same chords. They substituted E minor for the G, so they had... But over top of that, Paul McCartney sings a B note, which turns this D chord into D major 7th. The band is not playing D major 7th, they're playing D, but he's singing, that boy, and it just turns the chord into that. One simple little tiny note, and they took an entire decade of samey ballads and elevated it to a whole new form.
You were saying to pick a good Beatles song. I think Here, There, and Everywhere is one of the great classics as far as super nice changes.
That was a hard song for me to figure out because there's a really odd chord change in it. Anyway, it's here, making each day of the year, changing my life with a wave of her hand. Nobody can deny that there's something there. So this, by the time Revolver came out and that song came out, and I tried to learn it, I had been learning songs off of records so I could play them in a band for 3 or 4 years. I didn't expect this chord anywhere, and I couldn't find it because, well, you don't use that chord. I mean, if you transpose to A, that would be a C sharp 7th in the key of A. Now I know it's not all that unusual because I've broadened my experience a little bit past Chuck Berry and Little Richard.
For me, there has been a hierarchy of musical education. There's we get stuck in our 3 chords or our 6 chords or whatever our vocabulary is, and it doesn't grow beyond that. So instead of pushing the envelope and really stretching, we stay stuck and mired in that. And that has to do with melody choice, rhythms, lyrics, all of it. We tend to enterprise it.
But to be fair to people, we don't know what we don't know.
That's true. Well, let me throw out a couple of thoughts. This may take a few minutes, but everybody who has spent a little bit of time playing music has played the typical 1-4-5 chord, okay? And you can play that for years and years and have fun with it. At a point, I graduated to adding 3 basic chords to that 1-4-5 pattern, okay? I'm in the key of D, so those of you who are guitar players, I'll talk to that point. D, G, A are your 3 chords. I started adding an E minor, an F sharp minor, and a B minor. And all of a sudden, I had a new world open up to me. So instead of just, I was playing, and I had many more choices, and I started substituting some of those new chords for the typical 1-4-5 that I've been playing. So that's the first level of substitution that I learned. And the second level, you hear in James Taylor constantly. I call it, it's the flat, on the 7th, the flatted 7th value of the scale. So it's this. So here's my 1, 4, 5, and it's the C. Okay. And then the other one is a step up, which is the E. So now I've got, got a whole new array of harmonic options. If you take those chords and work them into every key, get to the point where you can play them in every key, you turn yourself into an artist who's drawn stick figures to someone who all of a sudden has this enormous palette of colors and ways of expressing yourself musically and harmonically. A song that I almost threw out demonstrates this pretty well. It's called Always and Only. So here's the simplest way to play it. Broken, lonely, always and only, I'm thinking of you, can't believe that it's true. Then I'm going to add that first level where the E minor, the F sharp minor, and the B minor become available to me. I'm going broken, lonely, always and only, I'm thinking of you, B minor, can't believe, E minor, that it's true, and I'm heartsick, stumbling, tripping and stumbling, wondering what I'm gonna do. E minor, always and only together. That's what I thought it would be. Never worried a lot, 'cause the story I bought, E was you always and only loved me. Never sadder, nothing matters. The clock stopped the moment that you walked away. Now I'm broken, lonely, always and only, thinking of you night and day. Now, because I play in all keys, I transposed the bridge to the key of G. So instead of going, I went. be always and only together. That's how I thought it would be. Never worried a lot, 'cause the story I bought was you'd always and only love me. Never sadder, nothing matters. The clock stopped the moment that you walked away. Now I'm broken, lonely, always and only thinking of you night and day.
Okay, so talk to you, Gary. I noticed that what you were noticing is how fantastic the lyrics are and how they just go dump, 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 dump.
You and I are thinking exactly the same thing. I was sitting here thinking, I hope all the songwriters out there were catching the contrast. Contrast is so critically important, so that everything doesn't sound the same for 3 straight minutes. You have to have something a little different, and it needs to contrast to something else. And the beauty of what Bruce did in that song is the way, the meter of the lyrics. Da 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 da. Just a couple of syllables for a whole melodic line, and then da 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 da, where he's hitting quarter notes, and then back. And so throughout the song, you have this wonderful contrast between where the pace, not the tempo is slower, but the pace of how the syllables come out is slower. He's doing half notes, and then he goes to quarter notes. And if you don't do that, your songs are boring.
Bruce, you
They
write
just
without
sound
actually
boring.
playing any instruments.
Often. I was talking to my friend Cindy Craven about this the other day. My best melodies are almost always when I'm not at an instrument. When I'm not with a guitar in my hand, or I'm not really much, I occasionally pick up the guitar, but when I'm not at a piano. Because as soon as I'm in front of the instrument, the machinery goes off, my head engages, and I start getting analytical. When I'm driving somewhere a long distance and I shut my phone off, I wrote Alexandra coming home from Ragamuffin one night, and I don't believe I could have written that song in front of an instrument. I was just driving along and I said, Alexandra, a special gift that only she could be.
And then you go.
And then I built it.
What did you do? You went back and you played the melody.
That's all I had, just that. And I went back and I constructed a chair for it.
In the 30s and 40s, it was popular somewhat to have the song start with an A section that never happens again. That's something that we never do.
I did it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, just before we came, I was telling Bruce that I was playing through some of your stuff, and I came to Colleen, and I said, "Oh, the girls' names are. Have you heard Bruce's song Alexandra?" And Lynn said no. He said, "Have a listen to this." So I just heard it, and it's a terrific song, and to have it written for you is great. Do it, Bruce.
Alexandra. And to speak to Craig's point, these are sounds that sound complex if you don't know them, the chordal structure, but I've played them so much that all I'm doing is getting the sound. It's for me, it's just a musical experience. It's not mechanical. I've gotten to the point where it's when I hear this, it's just a beautiful sound. Those are just sounds. So that's, to speak to that point that you asked about, but this is. The Côte d'Azur in fading light, breezes blowing color kites, through it all one single sight so dear, sings to me and whispers in my ear. Alexandra, a special gift that only she could be, standing peacefully beneath a willow tree. That's the Alexandra I see. Alexandra, has an elegant and simple dignity, a face that frames her smile so perfectly. That's the Alexandra I see. Rings of golden filigree, vintage wines from Italy, island sands washed by the sea, while angels sing her name to me. Alexandra, in a movie splashed across the silver screen, you're the only one I dance with in this scene. That's the Alexandra for me. That's the Alexandra. The Alexandra I see.
How many verses did you write that you didn't use?
I'm sure I threw several pages.
Okay.
I really worked hard on that song to
Yeah.
write things that weren't cliche.
Okay.
And it was, so I went through a lot of stuff.